Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Amy here. Today we're going to start off talking about some books in 2021, whether they were disappointments, books I didn't like, books I DNF'd, books I one-starred, and of course, the best of the best. This category will probably be just based on what I normally read, which is mystery, thriller, a little bit of horror, and of course, male romance. I do have some books that are not in that genre that I have read, which we'll talk about in a later video. But today we're going to start it off with the books that I DNF'd and one-starred in 2021. She's hiding behind me for some reason. But before we get started talking about these books, just a quick disclaimer. I do not mean to offend anyone by saying that I didn't like these books or whatever it was that I didn't like about these books. If you like them, great. That is wonderful. Not everybody has the same taste in books. I appreciate all these books and their stories. They just weren't for me. So if they were for you, great. I will also be giving away some of these books, actually 3 of these books, because most of these books that I have on my list, I have already given away or donated or traded in at Second and Charles or something. But I do still have actually 4 books on my shelf, and I'm only going to be giving away 3 of those books. If you would like any of my books, let me know in the comments down below which one you would like, and I will have, like Michael, pick whoever gets those books. Since I kind of feel like I know most of y'all through the comments, so I don't want to, I don't want to favor anything. So I'm gonna let Michael pick those books for, the ones that want those books. Does that make sense? And it goes for everywhere, the U.S., out of the U.S., wherever, because I appreciate all of y'all being here, and this is just a little way I can kind of give back. Even though I didn't like these books, maybe one of y'all will actually like to have these books on your shelf. So anyway, getting into the video, let's get started. So I have a total of 12 books I'm going to talk about, but I have 3 of those 12 that are 1-star. So we'll go ahead and talk about those first, because I did get through those books. I fully read the book, but they just didn't do it for me. So the first book on this list is Snowflakes by Ruth Ware. This was a very short story, a novella. So this book was really just like, I don't know. It was, to me, it just didn't make any sense. So it's about this father that basically kind of kidnaps his children and brings them to this island where they have to make a life there. They have to grow their food. They handle livestock and things like that. Their father is telling them that the world is under attack. I don't really understand what really happened in this book. Not really, I don't really remember what happened with the mother, but I think the mother had something to do with the whole actual like plot and ending of the book, so I don't want to give that away. But yeah, it was just, yeah, to me it just made no sense. I don't know. It was a 1-star, but it was a very short story. Maybe that's why it didn't make sense. I don't know. Next up, this is a male romance that I picked up from like an Amazon sale of some sort. I don't know, but this is Dirty Laundry by Heidi Cullinan. This was terrible. Terrible. It's a short book, 187 pages. I do really enjoy the cover though. The cover is really nice, but yeah, it's a Tucker Springs novel, so I think it's part of a series. It looks like, yeah, there's pictures of the other series in here. But this was about 2 guys. One guy that had really bad like OCD and anxiety, and then the other guy is just, he was like a high school dropout, so he just didn't feel like he was worth anything. So they meet because one of the guys actually like helps the other guy out because he's at the laundromat and he's getting bullied. So this guy comes in and he like, you know, takes care of the situation, and then an impromptu sex in the laundry mat happens. And then after that, just like, just the story in general was just off kilter for some reason. For me, it was like these two guys just couldn't come together. They couldn't, like, they weren't conversing with each other. It just really wasn't. And the sex scenes were terrible. Like, you're reading these sex scenes, they happen, but it's not really a sex scene. You're reading about what's going on in the guy's head, like the guy with OCD and anxiety, which I totally understand. I have OCD, I have anxiety, but all we get is like him just like, he's not even enjoying the experience because he's just rattling on about all these things in his head. I don't know. I just didn't think it was portrayed well. I think it could have been done a lot better, I guess. The two guys in the end just didn't really make sense to me. Yeah, and the story was just kind of off. Yeah, anyway, this will be one of the books I'll give away. So if you would like to have this book on your shelf or experiment it for yourself to see whether you might like it, let me know in the comments down below. Next up, we have Hannabees by Jennifer McMahon. I had really high hopes for this book. This is another short story. I read it on my Amazon tablet, but I just didn't like it at all. My main thing I didn't like about this book was the bullying. So something happens on Halloween night in like 1982, and I love taking it back. Don't get me wrong, I love taking it back. But this, whatever happened, still haunts one of our characters. So we kind of follow her on that night in 1982, and then as well as our character in current times, which is 2016. It's basically a bullying story gone terribly wrong. It really could have been a good story. Maybe some of you really did like this book, but I didn't like it. I didn't like what, you know, the situation that went down, and then how it all wrapped up was just a little on the weird side. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. But again, it may have done it for you, but it was a 1 star. Okay, so now we're going to get into my DNFs for 2021. I'm really sad about this book because this book was gifted to me by my best friend, Debbie. She went on this road trip, her and her boyfriend, and went to see like the town where Stephen King lives, and visited one of the bookstores in the town of Stephen King. So she bought me, and I requested this. I wanted this because I love the cover. So it's this Misery by Stephen King. I absolutely love the movie Misery, but I just couldn't make it through the book. I don't even think I got halfway through, and I just lost complete interest in it. And that's the trouble with me and the King. We don't always get along. I find for me, he's a tough read. But yeah, sadly, I DNF'd Misery. But it is going to stay on my shelf because it was gifted to me by Debbie. And I love the cover. And maybe one day I'll try to dive back in. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Because like I said, I love the movie. I just couldn't do the book for some reason. Next is The Girl in the Mirror. This is by Rose Carlisle. This was actually a Book of the Month pick, not my Book of the Month pick, because I had a feeling I wouldn't like it because it's the trope of twins and, you know, flip-flopping each other kind of thing, but one's an evil twin and one's not kind of thing. And I just don't, it gives me anxiety. I don't really like those kind of books. So it wasn't my pick of the month, but it was Debbie's. So she loaned it to me because she really liked it. And I was like, okay, let me see. But I got a couple chapters in and I was already like, nope, I can't do it. I'm already anxious. I just couldn't do it. Next is Totally Trucked. This was a male-male romance by B.J. Blakely. I discovered this author on Instagram. Beautiful cover. So I was like, oh, let me check this out. It was very raunchy, even for me. And I don't mind raunchy. I can get into some raunchiness. There was a glory hole involved, which you learn something new every day kind of thing for me. But yeah, but I just couldn't get into the actual story. I didn't really know if I really cared for the two guys together. They met at a glory hole, but it was a kind of thing where they don't know who each other are. But for some reason, they kept appearing together at this glory hole at the same time. I just didn't like it. I think I got about 50% of the way in. I read this on my Amazon tablet. Yeah, and this is part of a series too, and part of me wants to try it again, but then I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, DNF this one as well. Next up is Violet by Scott Thomas. This is a horror that I tried to get into. I think I either gave this one to Debbie or I traded it in at Second and Charles. I don't remember, but I feel like I didn't really give this book a chance, honestly. I got through like 2 chapters, I think, maybe 3. The chapters were so long and drawn out. I got bored with what was happening. And then it was very, very depressing. I just couldn't do it. And it was a really thick book, and I just didn't know if I was ready for it. So I DNF'd it. Next is Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson. I think what ruined this book for me was the narration. It was not good at all. So I feel like once again, I didn't give this book a good chance, but I never picked it up again in 2021, and I don't have it. I think I know for sure I traded that one in, but I did read for spoilers, and it sounded like it had potential, that it was really good. I did read that it was a very slow start, which in the beginning, yeah, it was, but part of why I DNF'd it was because I could not stand the voice of the narrator. It was just no. And then I didn't know if I was going to really be able to get through the book, because it just seemed like such a slow start. So yeah, once again, I feel like I maybe didn't give it a good chance, because I do think a lot of people really did like this book. So we'll see, maybe in the future, or maybe I'll try this author again. I don't know. Next is Conviction by Denise Mena. I picked this up mainly because it was a podcast in a book kind of thing. But the podcast, it didn't give me podcasty feels. And once again, the story was dragging on quite a bit. I just couldn't get into it, and I didn't really like it. When it all boils down to the end of it, I just didn't really like it. I got a pretty good way through though, and I just ended up just not really caring anymore. I don't even remember what this was about, but I think like this woman, her husband is leaving her. She's like in a very depressing state, and I feel like that depression really came out on the pages, and that's probably why I just couldn't do it. It was just too depressing for me. But then she ends up going on this road trip with another guy, and I don't really remember who this guy was, and she ends up like listening to this podcast, and she knows the girl that's involved in the podcast, so I don't know. I'm reaching here, but yeah, it was a DNF. Next, I tried getting into some dark romances, and I think I picked one that just wasn't doing it for me, so I just completely just forgot about the whole thing. I was actually going to do a vlog on reading dark male romances, and I started off with this one. This is Captive. This is Captive Beautiful Monsters by Jax Lane. I was kind of really into it in the beginning, but then a little bit over halfway through, I think around 70% or so into the book, I just didn't care anymore because they started going into battle. This was like a very high fantasy sort of dark male romance, and that's dark. High fantasy is something that I have read and I will try to read, but I'm very picky about it. And this one was just not, I don't like the whole war thing. I'm just not into that. And when the book starts going into detail about the war and what's happening, I get bored and I don't care anymore. But we're following like a vampire who is also an incubus, and then we follow this incubus, and he like finds something interesting about the vampire, so he kind of like takes him in and kind of trains him to rein in like his incubus side. And the whole incubus thing is like they can suck the sexual pleasure out of people. So I mean, as far as like the sex scenes go, they were really well written and really done, and the book was actually really good. I was really getting into it until we hit the war stage, and it was just dragging on, and I was like, I don't care, I want to know more about the vampire. So I just kind of put it away, shelved it away, maybe to try again later, because I kind of really did like the characters, although I don't know if I liked the characters together. There is male, but there's also male-female relationships in this book, which was all done really well. I really did like how, you know, all that was done. The incubus, you know, sucking the sexual pleasure out of some. I really did like how that was happening. I just didn't really like the whole war thing, I guess. I don't know. It may be something I pick back up. But we'll see. Yeah, I DNF'd it a little bit over halfway through. 2 more books to talk about, and then that's it for my DNF. I don't like DNF in a book, but you know, like I said in the beginning, sometimes it's just not for you, and that's okay. That's okay. It's still a book that I appreciate. So yeah, next up is Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chizmar. I wanted to read this. Well, one, the cover is just beautiful. I love the pop of orange, and then we have like the pop of green in the sneaker down here in the bottom. The black and white thing, spooky thing going on, really drew me in. What also drew me in was that it was so it's a fiction book, but it's written as nonfiction because it's about a true crime. It's basically a true crime fiction book, but it's not real. It didn't really happen, but we're acting like it did happen in this book. And Richard Chizmar is actually telling us his story. I actually like kept my page mark because I thought I would maybe like go back to it one day, but I don't think I am. I got pretty far. I mean, I only had that much left, but I struggled though. I really did struggle. I was listening to this book on audio, which is a really good audio, by the way. I just couldn't get into the story. I'm not a nonfiction reader. Although I try to be. I really do try. Sometimes it works out. Most of the time it doesn't. But even though this was fiction, the nonfiction story or outline of plot, I don't know how to explain it. It was truly written like a nonfiction book, but it's fiction. So this is about a boogeyman. I believe like someone going around in like the like 70s, I believe, no, 1988. In the summer of 1988, someone was mutilating young girls, and this Richard Chizmar, who I believe is a journalist who wanted to be like a horror writer, starts to dive into these cases and tries to figure out who the boogeyman is. So therefore chasing the boogeyman. So it's just like There's actual pictures in here. So it's just like, you know, people going around, like he's like going around collecting actual information. So yeah, it's very much written like a nonfiction book. So if you like nonfiction and you want to give this book a try, even though it's fiction, let me know in the comments down below and you can have it. Or if Michael picks you, you can have it. Because I really don't think I'm going to go back and read it, even though I kept my bookmark in there. So yeah. And then last but not least, oh, this pains me once again, just like Misery. This is Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I couldn't do it, y'all. I just couldn't. I got 50% of the way in, almost. This is a big chunk of a book. The audio is actually pretty good, but I started to get annoyed with just the story and mixed with the audio, and I was just like, okay, I've had enough. I don't care anymore. I just don't care what happens. But I know a lot of people really like this book, and that's why I really hate to DNF it. But yeah, I just couldn't do it. And like I said, in the beginning, it was holding me. It was holding me in the beginning. But then I just, like I said, I just really didn't care. You know, I kind of wanted more of the whole, vampire part of the book, I guess. And maybe we do get more of it, but, Charles Talent Manx is our villain here. And he is a vampire, I believe. I think he feeds off of children of some, I don't know, but he takes them to this place he calls Christmas Land. So, you know, so children have gone missing. And then we follow Vic. We follow Vic from like her childhood at around 10, 12 years old up until like she's a grown woman, and she's basically one of the children that got away from Mr. Manx. And we also follow another character that I thought was pretty interesting. The gas mask man or something. He was really interesting. He was kind of like, you know, the vampire sidekick kind of thing. So yeah, it had potential, and it had points of the book where I really did like it, but you know, Vic grows up, and I don't know, I lost interest as to where we were going, and I didn't get enough of Mr. Manx and what his purpose was and what this Christmas Town was. Maybe if I would have kept going, we'd have got all that, but I just felt like it was just too drawn out. It was just too much. It's very much written like a Stephen King book. It reminded me very much of a Stephen King book, and Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King. It just wasn't for me. But it could possibly be for you. If you want my copy of Nosferatu, let me know in the comments down below. So that's it, y'all. That's what I DNF'd and 1-starred in the year of 2021. So sad. But again, all books don't work the same for all of us. You know, we all have different tastes, and that's okay. So once again, if you want any of these books, just let me know in the comments. And like I said, I'll have Michael pick whoever the lucky winner is of these books, if you want them. If not, if I get no one that wants these books, I'll probably just donate them, or see if I can trade them in at Second and Charles. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, thank y'all so much for watching. As always, more to come on my readings of 2021, so stay tuned. Hope you're all doing well out there. Hugs from me all around, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.